Welcome. We are visiting the organization format and knowledge of Pingal Chand Vedang. We have so far visited chapter 1 and chapter 2, and today we shall be glimpsing the text of Ganita's text of chapter 3 of this scripture. We can recall that the 42 meters of chapter 2 are of values as are tabulated. Gayatri in its all six streams is of total value 60, and Jagati with its all stream values of value 120. Today we shall be visiting these values 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120 of Gayatri, Uchane, Kanstup, Bhakti, Chiristup, Jagati. And in terms of this visit, we shall be having a visit to see Gayatri in its all six streams is of value 60, and value 60 is parallel to 60 coordinates of transcendental boundary of 12 components of self-referral domain. A raised to power 6 is to 12, B raised to power 5 is the domain boundary ratio 5 per cube 6. Therefore, the focus here as such is upon the transcendental boundary. And this transcendental boundary of 12 components. And these 12 components as such make a value 12 into 5 is equal to 60. Therefore, the Gayatri meter, when is going to be visited in chapter 3 regarding its different manifestations, then we shall be having in our mind this format of transcendental boundary of 12 components of 6 space. A step ahead, when we shall be visiting the meter Usnik of value 70, then we shall be parallel with the domain split phenomenon, which at its fifth split phase is of spectrum stream 70. 14 into 570 takes us to hypercube 4 with 5 spaces in its origin. One may have a pause here and take note that as Gayatri, it is the transcendental boundary role of 5 space. However, as Ushanik of value 70, it is of 5 space, role of origin of 4 space, and leading to its fourth union split of 5th stage. The next stage, Anushtup of value 80. This value 80 is parallel to 80 cubes requirement for exhaustive coverage of all the 10 creative boundary components of transcendental domain. Let us have a pause here. When we will be having 80 as a value of the number of cubes in terms of which we can have exhaustive coverage of the boundary of all the 10 creative boundary components, then it will bring us face to face with the role of 5 space as a domain. Let us again have a pause here. At the stage of Gayatri, 5 space is the role of a boundary. At the stage of Uchanik, 5 five space in the role of the transcendental origin of four space providing split, and as Anushtup, five space is in the role of a domain. So first role of five space is as boundary, second role of five space is as origin, and third stage is of five space as a domain. At the fourth stage of Brihiti, as value 90, it takes us to 18 multiplied by 5 is equal to 90. This would mean that this is the role of five space within five space. First was five spaces boundary, second was five spaces origin, third was five spaces a domain, and now fourth is five space within five space. Is this feature of Brihiti which deserves to be comprehended well, as now at this stage five space is manifesting within five spaces hypercube 5, where the dimension as well is a five space content, boundary as well as a five space content, domain is a five space content, and origin as well as a six space content. So hypercube 5 has 3, 4, 5, 6, 18, its value 18. Next, now at the next phase and stage, that is at the fifth stage of Pankti as of value 100, it takes us to the domain within a domain. Now five space within five space enveloped within a creative boundary of five space content, making five space as origin of a four space within four space. Therefore, while we shall be visiting this value 100, we will see that four space has 10 components of the as creative boundary of five space is making a format for 10 place. Now, as each of the 10 creative boundary components of five space as boundary, as well being a transcendental origin, which is having a transcendental role enveloped within 10 boundary components, and therefore 10 multiplied by 10 leads us to value 100. See, initially 5 space was in the role of a boundary, then 5 space was in the role of an origin, then 5 space was in the role of a domain, then 5 space was manifesting within 5 space itself. Now in this fifth stage, now at this stage, the creative boundary with the transcendental origin is having repetitive phase of explosion. So 10 into 10 is equal to 100. The next stage of Tristu value 110 is a value 11 multiplied by 10. 11 is parallel to 11 versions of hypercube 5. Therefore, fifth, sixth, and seventh stages, Pankti as 100, Tristupep 110, and Japti as 120 are sequentially taking us to the transcendental origin seed with its explosion, creating transcendental cavity, which the range of 11 versions, 11 geometries of five space. Then there is a transition and transformation as a transcendental boundary of 12 components. In this phase and stage, which will also help us appreciate as to how Dwadas Aditya and Dwadas Jyotir Lingam get superimposed as manifestations along the same format, that is of the transcendental boundary of self-referral domain. So we had begun with the role of five space as a transcendental boundary, and we have reached at the manifestation of five space within five space, and as a result thereof, there being a superimposition of Dwadas Jyotirlingam and Dwadas Dityas. It is this feature which deserves to be comprehended and imbibed well, as it is in terms of it we shall be face to face with the enlightenment of Vedic systems. That entire range of mantras are unfolded from within Gayatri by Transcendental Lord Shiva. Once again, the Vedic enlightenment is that the entire range of mantras are unfolded from within Gayatri mantra by the Transcendental Lord Shiva. It, in fact, is the feature of Jagati wherein the Dwadas Adityas and Dwadas Jyotirlingam get superimposed at the transcendental boundary of the self-referral space itself. It is in this light that we have to visit of chapter 3. The text of chapter 3 is, is a text of 66 sutras. These 66 sutras, chapter 3, are in a way the elaboration of unfolding processes within the transcendental unfoldment sequential steps from Gayatri to the Jagati. Therefore, this text as such is also sequentially organized with respect to internal features, internal unfolding features, internal manifestation format of Gayatri to Jagati. Therefore, while we shall be through the text, we shall be sequentially through the internal unfolding process of the manifestation of the domains as distinct roles of five space. Therefore, the Sutra 1 Pada just mentions that here the focus is to remain upon the quarters of the meters. Then the Sutra 2 provides Adi Purana, means whenever there is a deficiency of a single syllable, then that can be compensated by insertion of the second or a third vowel. So this in fact is the rule, and this rule is to compensate for the deficiency of a single syllable in a pada. Therefore, this rule of compensation of deficiency of the syllable in each pada is a rule which brings us face to face with the phenomenon as that we have a range of n points, and gaps would be n minus 1. Therefore, the deficiency of one syllable is parallel with the difference of the number of points and the number of gaps, the range of such points. Therefore, when this deficiency is compensated by insertion of the vowel second or a third, it simply means that a, e, and u are different generic units than that of the first vowel a. And this, as such, is a rule which is of great practical importance, and it is in terms of it we shall be ultimately appreciating the organization format of the meters in terms of small and long vowels, and how three space in its different roles as dimension, boundary, domain, and origin will be taking us from three space to six. Three space as dimension takes us to space as an origin. Therefore, ultimately, this organization is going to be the organization which is being chased in the roles of three space and a reach of three space up till six space as an origin. Therefore, one shall sit comfortably and have a sequential chase of three space as dimension, leading us to fourth space as boundary, five space as domain, and six space as an origin. Now the Sutra 3, Gayatri Vasva, means there are eight Vasus. There is a split of a cube as eight subcubes. There is a split of three space as eight octants. And it is this split because of which there happens a explosion at the origin. And it is this split of three space into eight octants and consequential manifestation of eight subcubes as cube brings us the center of the cube as a seat of the creators of space. And as a result, there happens a transition and transformation. Each space as a synthetic set of eight subcubes, two hypercube, four as four space enveloped within a solid boundary of eight components. And it is this format of four space enveloped within a solid boundary of eight components which is the format of Vasus. There are eight Vasus. Therefore, Sutra 3 is bringing us face to face with this feature. With this feature, with whose comprehension, with whose imbibing, we will be in a position to have a appreciation of sequential unfolding process of the specific domains. We have seen that the Gayatri is of value 60. Gayatri as of value 60 leads us to metric format of hypercubes as six space domain enveloped within a transcendental boundary of 12 components. And it is this feature of the Gayatri as a domain enveloped within a transcendental boundary. This reach for the Gayatri as a self-referral domain, six space, which is developed within the transcendental boundary of 12 components, is being chased here. And it is this chase which is to be appreciated. It is this appreciation which is to be sequentially followed. As Vasus, there are eight. As Adityas, there are 12. As Dish directions, which are 12. Virat as 10. Rudra as 11. Now, all these features, as such, are being specifically mentioned as that the same can be single quarter, double quarter, triple quarter, and quadruple quarters. These meters, as are, these can be of a single quarter setup, pair of quarter setup, of triple quarter setups, and of quadruple quarters setups. So, in this light, when we shall be having an appreciation of the Gayatri Chand, then from Sutra 10 to Sutra 17, there is a full expression of eight folds in which eternal manifested domain of Gayatri is unfolding itself. And it is this eightfold unfolding process of the Gayatri is as is of values being preserved as Sutras 10, Sutra 17. Sadhakas fulfilled with intensity of urge to be parallel with the internal folds of the Chand shall approach it as the eight folds are being expressed here as Sutras 10 to Sutra 17. Sutra 10 is of expression as of triple folds of seven syllables each. Sutra 11 is expression of triple quarters as of syllables 6, 8, and 7. Sutra 12 is of values triple 996, 13 as 699, 14 as 678, 15 as 876, 16 as 12 and 8 only, and 17 as 11, 11, and 11. Now these eight folds of Gayatri Chand are given distinct names and designations. Because these eight folds are of distinct features, as such, these are also given distinct names. Therefore, Sutra 10 is designated as Nicharit Gayatri. Nicharit Gayatri is a Gayatri of three quarters, three padas, and each pada of Nrit Gayatri is of seven syllables. Nrit Gayatri is Gayatri. Nrit Gayatri is of three padas. Nrit Gayatri is of three padas of seven syllables each. Therefore, the Nrit Gayatri as such is a chand of total 21 syllables. It is this feature, Nrit Gayatri, as of 21 syllables, which when is to be visited, or this manifestation is of the format of self-referral domain enveloped within the transcendental boundary of 12 components of total coordinates. That means this fold is a fold which takes the domain. Now, six-space domain would mean that this domain will get surfaced in terms of its Tapatya mirroring rod synthesized by hypercules 1 to 6. Values range 1 to 6 is of summation value 21. O value 21 as such is organizing itself as triple sevens. Now, one may have a pass here that six space as an origin is the consequential manifestation of three space as a dimension. And we know that three space is a space which is of seven geometries range. Now it is this feature that three space is seven geometries range is a format feature which is the manifestation format feature of Nrit Gayatri. Like this, that we have to sequentially visit each of these eight manifestations of a Gayatri along the format of 60 coordinates of the transcendental boundary of the self-referral domain. No doubt this organization is very rich organization. No doubt that this organization format is of sequential manifestation. No doubt it is a synthetic manifestation. No doubt it is of sequential reach, but we have to reach it Sadhakas fulfilled with intensity of urge to be parallel with all the eight folds of Gayatri of the format of self-referral domain within transcendental domain shall sit comfortably and the be parallel with the same. At next step, we have to be face to face with the oceanic chand. We know that the oceanic chand is of value 70. We also know that oceanic chand is of value 70 parallel to the five space as transcendental origin of a fourth space when causes an explosion, and at the fifth phase of explosion which fourth there happens 70 streams. Now see, these five sutras range sutra 18 to 22 of chapter 3 as five-fold internal manifestation phases and stages of Vishnu Chand. When are caged, then these five distinct format features of distinct manifestations of the oceanic domain are of expression values as Sutra 18, 8, 8 and 12, as 19, 8, 12 and 8, as 20, as 12, 8, 8, as 21, as 8, 8, 12. But while at the fifth stage, it is a quadruple sevens. Now, one shall sit comfortably and permit the transcending mind to be parallel with this fivefold unfolding process of the oceanic chand of value 70. One shall also be parallel with this unfolding process as of the explosion at the transcendental origin of the creator's space. One also is to be face to face with that this phenomenon of Ushna Chand domain split is in continuity of the unfolding process of the Jagati Chand domain. Therefore, the fivefold internal domain unfolding process of the Ushnak domain deserves to be chased in continuity of the internal unfolding process, 8 steps of Gayatri Chand. A step ahead, one shall be face to face with the triple unfolding steps of the unstripped domain of value 80. One shall sit comfortably and be parallel with these threefold unfolding steps of the unstripped domain as of quadruple values 8 and as 8, 12, 12 and 12, 8, 12. One shall sit comfortably and be in the continuing aspect unfolding of this phenomenon. Initially, the Gayatri domain has internal unfolding process of 8 steps. The oceanic Chand domain is of unfolding 5 steps, and unstopped Chand is of unfolding triple steps. This unfolding process, beginning with the Gayatri domain, eventually reaching at oceanic and then at unstopped Chand, as of 8, 5, and 3 steps, deserves to be imbibed in that sequence and order. A step ahead, a reach at the British Chand is going to be of 11 steps. There are 11 unfolding steps of the British domain. British domain we know is of value 90. Value 90 we know is equal to 5 into 18. 18 we know is equal to 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 parallel to fourfold manifestation layer of 5 space in 4 space. Now the phase and stage as such has reached where 5 space is manifesting within 5 space, and 5 space is of 11 versions. 5 space has 11 geometries range. 5 space domain hypercube 5 is of 11 versions. Therefore, these 11 unfolding process of the Brith Chand domain deserve to be chased in continuity of the unfolding process which has begun with the Jagti as of 8 steps, as Ushnik of 5 steps, and as Unstup as of 3 steps, now at Briti as of 11 steps. Now these unfold expressions of 11 unfolding steps of Briti are of the values as are preserved here in Sutras 26 to Sutras 26 to Sutras 36. Step ahead, the fifth Chanda domain, the Pankti, is of 13 inner folding process. The initial Jagati is of 8 steps, Ushanik is of 5 steps, Anustap is 3 steps, Briti is of 11 steps, and Pankti is of 30 steps. C. Value 13 is parallel to 13 geometries range of 6 space. Value 13 is parallel to 13 versions of hypercube 6. It is in this context we shall have a pause and see the underlying unfolding format of these Chand domains. The Jagti as of 8 steps, Ushanik of 5 steps, 3 steps, Briti of 11 steps, and now Pankti as 13 steps. Sixth phase and stage of Trishta is of again 11 steps, and finally the reach will be at 6 sutras, which will help us appreciate as to the distinctive classification of these unfold processes, and for it the rule being given is that is the devata, the deity of the domain, and it is the color of the particular domain which will help classify these process domains in a distinctive way. Let us see how many are the internal unfold domains. First we had 8, then 5, 13, then we have 3 is equal to 16, then we have 11 is equal to 27, then we have 13 is equal to 4. There are in all only this much number of the unfolded domains. These unfolded domains as such will take us to the creative boundary of the transcendental domain. One can have a pass. We had seen that the manifestation takes place within creator's space. Secondly, the creator's space is having a transcendental origin. Then, because of the transcendental origin being of a solid order, a degree more than that of the spatial order of the creator's space, there happens an explosion. This explosion as such is going to be of 5 phases and stages. And because of this explosion, the internal domains processing takes place, and then This whole process, as such, amounts to a transition and transformation for the role of creator's space from as a domain to fourth space as a boundary of a transcendental domain. How this whole process unfolds and resynthesizes, and the fourth space as a domain ultimately transits and transforms into the role of a creative boundary of the transcendental domain. Therefore, this unfolding of the internal manifested domains of these 7 meters amount to the synthetic setup of the creative boundary of the transcendental domain. And four space as boundary of five space, the fourth space stripping out will amount to becoming four space as a dimension of a six space. So the outer space gets dimensionalized as a self-referral space. And from the origin of a self-referral space, there is a flow of a jyoti. And it is this jyoti which is being manifesting as the deities and as the rang, as the colors. Therefore, deities and colors are the ultimate tests for having distinctive classified format features of internal domains unfolding phases and stages. This, as such, is a big chase. One shall sit comfortably, permit the transcending mind to be parallel with this entire process, and once we will be parallel with this process, and once we will be glimpsing and imbibing the format features of this process, then we shall be in a position to have the appreciation of the organization format as well as of the values, mathematical values, technological values of Pingal Chang Vedant. Thank you very much.